I belong to a lineage of remarkable women, powerful women and empowered women. Khadijat al-Kubra, Fatima bint Muhammad, Asiya and Maryam are just some. Have you heard about the first war zone journalist? Her name was Zainab bint Ali, her father's dearest. She kept the message of Hussein alive when in the courts for justice she strived. Having watched her family hunted down like animals, she sees her tents being burnt. On her brother's neck, the enemy with a blunt sword, veils ripped, hands chained, and yet, Zainab held her head high. A warrior focused on her mission to keep alive. For without her, Karbala would only have been a land where people died. It was Zainab's powerful words that made the court of Yazid shake. You have killed the Prophet's grandson. What more will you take? A fearless woman, courageous woman, power in her sermon. The peak of eloquence, yet modesty she displayed. You see, she had the perfect balance. Now take Zainab and emulate. Let her lessons, your struggles illuminate. Spread her message, her values populate. Like Zainab, fight hate. With love, let that resonate within your lives, yourselves. Her values educate. This season is all about empowering our youth. Who better to empower youth than a 7th century revolutionary leader who made the ultimate stand for social justice in the face of corruption and tyranny. He gave everything, including his life, for the dignity of his society. If you do not study the history of Imam Hussein, you will never understand why Gandhi was inspired by him. Gandhi then inspired Dr. Martin Luther King, and Dr. King inspired the entire civil rights movement. And thus all of them were but waves from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who said about his grandson, Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. The sacrifice of Hussein has inspired people. It has inspired movements and it has inspired revolutions. Every year, a team of youth come together and recreate the tragedy of Karbala in order to educate and inspire others. People of all age groups and ethnicities surround the area while the team dedicates hours of their time and energy teaching others what Karbala is and who Hussein is. This is the power of our youth, spreading the message of Imam Hussein. Okay, Assalamu alaikum everyone. We're at the Karbala Project today, and from what I remember coming here as a child, this has been going on for so many years, and now after speaking to you guys, I've realized that this is actually something that's run by the youth, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so can you guys state your name and can you tell us a little bit about the project and what impact you think it has on the youth?
Assalamu alaikum, I am Shahid Ratansi. So the Karbala Project has a great impact on the youth because it wasn't just a war to save Islam, but it has a lot of lessons for us. We have lessons like bravery, patience, and one of the most important one is what we learn from Janabe Hur, realization of mistake. That is very important. Everyone makes mistakes, realization is key.
You guys mentioned, so there's about 70 people, right? 70 youth that come and do this. What makes you guys keep coming back and taking part in this project? And you said you've been doing this for 9 years, right?
Ideally, right? Yes.
Yes. So what makes you keep coming back?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali Abbas Hamir. Ideally, answering to your question is that the reason we come is that the love of Hussein just doesn't come out from us. We cannot separate from it. It's instilled inside us. I think one thing to answer your question is that there was a Czech Republic couple that just came by a week ago, or a few days ago actually, and the first thing they asked is, what is Hussein, or what is happening here? And they're like, we've never heard about this. So I explained to them, and they were so interested that they came by the next day. So I think the love for Hussein and portraying his message and illustrating exactly what happened is what keeps calling us back every year. Of course, I mean, it's in us, and we're just gonna keep continuing to serve.
Okay. And what about you?
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Sajid. I feel that at times people go into misconceptions about how Imam Hussein gave his life and what was the actual reason why he gave up his life for Islam. So like at times kids even come and ask us certain questions that they might have doubts in it. So we try and help them like clear out the doubts and spread the actual truth that why he gave his life and why is Islam alive till today.
And you guys have so many interactions with people, right? You mentioned just 200 kids, like almost 200 kids come every day, right? And you have interactions with Muslims, non-Muslims who just come here and I guess they want to know more about what happened. So can you give us, all of you, give us one example of a memorable interaction you had? Something that you think you might have said or the story of Hussein that might have changed someone's life or their idea.
One thing that I was amused with was that there was this 4-year-old kid who came to me and I told him the whole story that what actually happened. But there was this time he just stood up and he wanted to leave. So I asked him, why are you leaving? He's like, you're telling me something that I already know. So I started pointing at each and every place and he kept naming what this place was. And finally when I point towards the battlefield and he's quiet and I ask him, like, why are you quiet? So he's like, this is where Imam Hussein died, and he just runs to his dad and he's like, let's go home, I know everything.
One of the most memorable memory that I have is once I was sitting with a few kids. So normally our stories last around 3 to 4 minutes, and if they are younger kids, you need to explain them just a little bit. You can't give them a lot of information, so it could last around 2 minutes. However, a group came who asked me a lot of questions, and they asked me really good questions. That was the first time that an explanation took up to 20 minutes, and I was shocked. I really feel very proud that we have such kids in our community who I didn't know they would actually indulge into such a deep discussion.
I've had too many memories in Karbala Project. I can't mention one, but one that literally stands out for me is that the person I am is a very outspoken one. I like getting into debates. I love speaking with other people. I love interacting. I love learning from them. So just like in school, when I speak to my friends and hear their stories, I always counter argue because that's just in my nature. So once last year during the project, they asked me where I was going, and I told them I was going to go to the Karbala Project. Yeah. And they're like, okay, we're going to come, we're going to bombard you with questions. They came, they asked questions, and then I answered them, and then once we went back to school, we started interactive discussions about comparative religions, and we spoke about Hussein. And then since that day, they have that special affection towards Imam Hussein, and inshallah they'll be coming by, I think, this weekend to learn more about him, as of what I've heard.
Okay, that's amazing. So basically, the whole idea, I guess, is that Imam Hussein is not only for Islam. He basically stood up for humanity and injustice, and I think it's so important that in today's world that youth understand that there's so much injustice going on in the world that this is our job to stand up to the injustice and to carry the message of Imam Hussein, not only during the time of Muharram, right, or during the time of Ashura where we mourn and we weep, but throughout our life, right? Okay, so where else have you guys made this project, the Karbala Project?
So our teams have, last year we split ourselves and we made one in Kigogo, we made one in the Udowe Mosque, we made one in Bagala, and we've also made one outside Tanzania, which was in Mombasa. Not only that, but we also give our materials to people going to Lindi, Zanzibar, and we've also sent our stuff to Mozambique. So we do help people, and because we don't want to spread the message only here, we want to spread it worldwide.
Yeah. And you guys also have a speaker who talks in Kiswahili, right? And he comes and he gives the whole story in Kiswahili, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So there was, I think if we're going to mention one, which was Temeke as well. So ideally, the reason you have a Kiswahili speaker is that because the locals in Tanzania seem very interested and they want to learn more. when they see something and they visualize what it was or see what it's illustrating, they want to know
Yeah.
what's happening, and that's why they come every year. We get around 1,000 people every single day
Yeah.
around that figure, including people from our community, and they just want to learn more about Hussein, what he stood for. So yeah, the reason we have a Kiswahili speaker is because we have a lot of locals coming in every single day.
Okay. And so, apart from this Karbala project, what other initiatives do you guys have that you do?
So basically, the purpose of Karbala Project is to propagate the word of Hussein. So if we do it through water drives, if we go to different villages and propagate our message, if we go and give the necessities to orphanages, which we do, then the purpose is still being served, which is to propagate the name of Hussein and what he stood for, which was technically humanity.
Yeah. And if there's one thing you would want to say to youth that are watching this who maybe are not part of this project, what would you say to them? What can they do? What little can they do every day to maybe spread the message of Hussein or on humanity?
I believe that the youth of the community should basically reflect on the lessons that Imam and the whole tragedy of Karbala have taught us. Patience, friendship, forgiveness, realization. They should reflect on this and make their future and their lives more better. They can have a better life.
I think that serving for Imam Hussein is not limited to services to others. Technically, he stood for humanity. So by being humble, by showing some sort of affection to our parents, to also the orphans of the road, by giving them any small thing, or being humble, respecting our peers and and teachers and people from other communities, we're also serving Hussein. It's not limited just to Karbala Project or anything in that matter.
Perfect. Yeah. Do you have any last remarks?
So this year we've invented something new. What we usually do and what we've been doing for the past few years is that we serve water to everybody. We have unlimited supply of water, and we give water to everybody. However, this year we've done that with a different approach. We aren't just serving water, not just giving water, but we are opening the bottles, going to them, going to the people. We are not just asking them if they want water. We are telling them to have that water because we know how important it is. And not only that, but we are also giving flyers so that they may learn a bit about Hussein.
Thank you guys so much, for taking your time. I think, this season I'm focusing on youth, and the reason why I decided to focus on this project is because, like I said, it's youth are so vital today in spreading the message of Hussein, and not only Islam but just humanity and making a difference in this world. And from what I've seen and what I've heard, you guys are doing such a good job, and may Allah give you the strength to keep doing what you guys are doing. It's amazing. Yeah. And thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview with me. Okay.
So today I'm going to take you through the whole tragedy of Karbala. This started from Medina, where Walid called Imam Hussein to his palace in order to give bay'ah to Yazid. However, the Imam could not give bay'ah to a person who was a drunkard and committed all sorts of sins. So the Imam did not give bay'ah. Bay'ah is an Arabic term for allegiance. The Imam then migrated from Medina to Mecca. The Holy Imam and his companions reached Mecca for the pilgrimage. They wanted to do Hajj. However, the army of Yazid was already there. They wanted to kill the people of Imam Hussein. But Imam Hussein did not want bloodshed in the Holy Kaaba, so he changed his intention from Hajj to Umrah. This is the Holy Kaaba, a replica of the Holy Kaaba. The Imam then moved from Mecca going towards Kufa. The Holy Imam and his companions went from Medina to Mecca. In Mecca we find the Holy Kaaba. The Holy Imam went to the Holy Kaaba as he wanted to perform his final Hajj, as he knew, as the Imam had Ilmul Ghaib, he knew that his death was coming soon. As the Imam reached the Holy Kaaba, his intention was to do Hajj. However, as he saw the army of Yazid, he knew they were there to kill him. And the Imam didn't want bloodshed in the house of Allah. So the Holy Imam then decided to perform Umrah and leave the Holy Kaaba. The Imam then intended to go from Makkah to Kufa. The Imam intended to go from Makkah to Kufa. However, at this diversion, the Imam was stopped by the army of Yazid. The commander-in-chief of that army was Hur. Hur's army was then given water by Imam Hussein. So kind of Imam Hussein to give water to the people who stopped him, who diverted him to the land of Karbala. Then came the time of Zohar. At the time of Zohar, everyone prayed behind Imam Hussein. Not only the companions of Imam Hussein, but also the army of Yazid. That clearly explains us that everyone knew that Imam Hussein was the right Imam and Yazid was not a perfect leader. The army of Imam Hussein then reached Karbala and placed their tents near the river Furat so that they could get easy access to water. As the Imam reached Karbala, he bought the land of Karbala so that when he is buried there, that land is not ghasbi and he is buried in a land that belongs to him. The Imam then told the men of Karbala that when you go to work, throw a little bit sand on my body so I may be buried. He told the women that when you go to fetch water, throw a little bit sand so that I may be buried. And finally, he told the children that when you are playing, please do throw some sand on the bodies of the martyrs. Then came the army of Yazid and they told the army of Imam Hussein to move away from the river Furat and that they wanted to place their tents near the river Furat. But Hazrat Abbas came up front and said that if anyone, he drew a line and said that if anyone dares cross this line, he will be killed. However, Imam Hussein told him that we are not here for war, we are here for peace. So Hazrat Abbas let them go and the army of Imam Hussein's tents were moved from this location to that location. The tents of Imam Hussein and his companions were therefore moved from this location to that location, and a trench was dug around it. Now came the final part, and this was the war, the battle of Karbala. This was the battlefield. The companions of Imam Hussein went starting from the son of Hur, then went Hur, then the other companions, Auno Muhammad, Qasim. Hazrat Abbas went to fetch water for Bibi Sakina and the children from the river Furat. His arms were cut on the way. Then a spear went into his eyes and he fell off the horse. Finally came the time of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein went, fought bravely. Then he called out to the skies, Hal min nasiri yansurna. And Imam Hussein was then put to ground and shimr set on his body and the Imam was martyred. After the event of Karbala, the ladies and Imam Zainul Abidin were then taken to Sham. This is the palace of Yazid, and this is the jail in his palace in Sham. Imam Zainul Abidin and the ladies were tortured. They were chained and taken through the bazaar from Karbala to Sham. They were tortured, they were slapped, and their hijabs were snatched. Yet Bibi Zainab and the other ladies were successful in keeping the message alive. The message of Hussein is still alive. His mission was to spread the message of Islam and to teach us something. We learn a lot from the event of Karbala. We know how brave all the companions were. We know how patient they were. They sacrificed their lives for Islam. And we do know that the lessons of the tragedy of Karbala are indeed very important for us in this era.
Okay, so I'm standing with a few youth at the Karbala Project, and I want to ask them a little bit about how the whole tragedy of Karbala has inspired them. So, what have you learned from the story of Imam Hussein?
I have learned on how to sacrifice and also learned how to submit to my religion.
Okay. And how has Imam Hussein inspired you?
Imam Hussein has inspired me to stand against oppression, and even he has taught me how to forgive all those who have wronged me.
Okay. And what do you love most about the Karbala Project? Anyone? What do you love most about the Karbala?
That it teaches the younger ones on how Imam sacrificed his life for Islam, as usually the younger ones have no idea on what's going on and what's happened in the past. So this is the best way or the best chance to convey the message in a practical way, because it's like a model that shows how everything and every relation went there.
Yeah, that's excellent because it's very visual, right? So the kids get to see exactly what's happening. Okay. And how are you going to use the lessons learned from Karbala this year?
Okay, so this Karbala project is made over here to show that how Imam Hussein went through all the tragedy from the start to the end, and how he sacrificed whatever he had for Islam.
Okay.
So his name is not alive, but his name is still alive. We made this Karbala to show the people that how Imam Hussein faced all the problems, and but still he didn't bow down to the enemies of Islam.
Okay, so maybe this year you're going to try to be more resilient and fight the oppression that's going on around the world, right? In whatever small way you can, right? Okay, and I want to ask you, what is one quality you want to learn from Imam Hussein and his companions?
The one quality I want to learn from Imam Hussein is doing anything for Islam.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Minhal, for giving EEI this opportunity to be here. Like I said, the reason why I decided to talk about Karbala is because it's there to inspire our youth, right? And you are the leader of this project. So how do you get youth involved in this project?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are one of the sections in the youth body of Dar es Salaam Jamaat, and we have International Union, whom we are part of. The Scouts is part of International Union. I have been in Scouts since the age of 10. It has been over 18 years that I've been in Scouts. I took over being the chairman for the past 8 years. Since I came up, there were many difficulties and challenges that we had to bring up the youth. Okay. But Alhamdulillah, till now we are 15 of us who are on the executive, and I have 60 boys under us, whom we train not only about religion, but even physically or spiritually, whenever they travel or whenever they are going in like a forest or something, and how do they struggle if they face any problems.
Yeah, I think nowadays, because of the social media and things like that, I think that youth are, although it's getting people together, it's also detaching them from what's important, from giving back, from community service. So getting them on the ground and doing things is a good way to build their team, right?
Community service is one of the fundamental principles we need to build up in our life. At present, there are many youths who are diverted from doing community service and wasting their time. We have got so many challenges in bringing up so many youths who had diverted themselves going into some other areas.
Yeah.
But Alhamdulillah, we have managed to face this challenge. However, our community is large. This problem is still facing
Yeah.
our community. It's a big challenge. But I'm sure if we all youths unite, I am sure that we can take this community to a further higher step.
Yeah, inshallah. And how many youths have you gathered in the Scouts team?
Okay, during the Scouts team, we started off with 40, 15 of executives and 35 who are as Cubs or Scout.
Yeah.
But Alhamdulillah, as years went by, we have now come up to 20 of us in the executive, and we have 50 of us who are still learning to come up.
Okay.
But I would like to assure all the youths that Scouts is always there. We are always there for the community. We are always there for the boys. And the challenge that we face is the parents. The parents are not supportive to the children. They do not give time to the youths. That's why the youths find time in diverting into something
Yes.
else. So it's a big challenge to the parents. I request the parents to give time to the children. Let them come into community, and I assure you, youths are going to reach in a better place.
And apart from this amazing project you guys do every year, and I remember because I used to come, it was, you look forward to it,
Definitely.
because every year there's something different and it's more innovation. So what else do you do to promote this message?
Okay, Karbala Project is one project which the whole community looks forward to, and even the outside community. There are other youths who just come for just the Karbala Project for the 12 days, but for Imam Hussein's name, we cannot refuse them. So we mingle with them and assist them in making the project. However, there was one dream which had been a reality for us. 3 years ago, when we were making the project, it was always a dream that, okay, we are making the project, but we have never been to Karbala.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, I managed with my team to take the boys to Karbala.
Wow.
I took 40 boys with us. So we went,
Mashallah.
we even did the walk from Najaf to Karbala,
yeah.
and all of them managed to finish.
Right.
Apart from this project, the other thing that we do just in Muharram is we go to orphanages every
Right.
Sunday to distribute Fatiha and spread the name of Imam.
Right.
Secondly, on the day of Ashura, we distribute throughout the city of Dar es Salaam 6,000 water bottles. With that, we take our Malims to spread the message. We give them a short lecture throughout the streets of Dar es Salaam, and then we give them the water bottles. So they should know why did Imam Hussein sacrifice his life for. But apart from Muharram, throughout the year we have many projects. We have mountain climbing, we have hiking, we have crawling, we have swimming, we have camping. So we do a lot of things. People might be thinking that scouting is just being in the forest and climbing up trees and ropes. However, scouting is a lot more to that.
Right.
Our community has given us a lot. It's our duty to give back to the community. So to the youths, I would request them to come forward. We will give them a chance, and let's show to the community and to the outside that we can do it.
Yeah. And what is your piece of advice to youth today who are watching?
To my fellow youths and my brothers and sisters, the youth are needed by our community. We need to take our community to a better step. Being a youth wing, we can come up together, bring up ideas, and we can progress a lot more than where we are today. Our unity is the most important thing. If the youths are disunited, our community will break up. But if youths are united, we are going to move very, very forward. So my request to all the youths, let's come forward, let's serve our community, let's give back to what they have given us. So tomorrow the generation is going to come, we'll still be united, and we'll take the community to a further place.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and Minha, I really commend you on all this work. Bringing youth together and doing all this community service, and you guys are very active. Which is so important, especially in today's day and age. So thank you so much for all the work you're doing, and inshallah you'll be rewarded for everything.
Thank you, Fatima. The only reason that I am standing here today is because of my father himself. My father has always supported the youth. He's also the chairman of International Union. So because of him, the way he has trained us, it is our duty to give back to us. Even my brothers, my friends who are studying abroad, but they are back here, and they are also trying their best to serve the community.
Yeah.
So I would like to appreciate IBN, I would like to appreciate you for giving your time and making an effort to come and take this interview of us. It has never been in the past 17 years, so it's the first time it has happened. So
it's my pleasure, and I'm really Honestly, I'm amazed, and I've learned so much today. Every time we come, we just look at what's happening, but we don't know the work that's going on behind
Very
the
true,
scenes.
very true.
So just speaking with so many people on your team, I realized how much effort and work has gone on into making this happen every year.
Thank you, Fatima. And inshallah, we'll work together. We will work for the community and our youth, and we'll take them to a better place. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm here with the team from Is Hussein, a campaign that has actually gone viral. I'd just like to ask you guys, who are you and how did Is Hussein start?
Well, Is Hussein is a globally recognized organization that spreads the information about Hussein ibn Ali.
Specifically, our aim is to spread the values of Hussein ibn Ali, those specifically being freedom, justice, and equity throughout our community. And we do that through different events, so blood donations, raising awareness, helping people who are oppressed, hungry. And we also want to show people that Hussein ibn Ali is for everybody, not dependent on race, gender, or religion.
It's basically our aim is to not have is to be apolitical, a-religious, a-everything, and it should be basically all like open to everyone and not specifically to one religion like the Muslims and the Shias. It's to everyone. And this Muharram we have started by channeling our message through water distributions, in which we're going to local areas to inform the local community about what we're doing. And together with that, we've been selling T-shirts, CDs, and a lot of other things to earn money to buy necessary items for the children in an orphanage that we'll be working with.
So that's fantastic. So you've taken the message of Hussein ibn Ali, and what you've done is basically try to make a difference in the lives of everybody, right? Indifference of their faith, their race, or their ethnicity. According to your website, you've basically conducted over 2,130 blood donations, and you've fed over 268,000 hungry people. So you can see that this campaign is actually doing really well, alhamdulillah. So what have you done this Muharram, and what are your future plans?
Well, as I said before, our plans are Muharram. In the future, we want to start with working with the orphanage in particular and getting them a startup, and also getting the local communities to actually educate it about Hussein ibn Ali's sacrifice and how he was very open to all religions, and not his aim wasn't to separate people but to bring them together, and that's what our aim is.
Okay, and let's say someone is interested in joining the campaign. What do they have to do?
Well, you can contact any of us.
Okay.
And
so I will put down the contact, and then we can, inshallah, make even a bigger difference than we are already. Thank you. Okay, so what impact is Hussein having on people, and especially on youth?
Ideally, in this modern day of age that we live in, we have been taught, or society teaches us, that we should cater our needs, and we should be selfish and ignorant and not care about other people.
Yeah.
And therefore we should be selfish in nature. But what Hussein teaches us is that at times we need to cater for other people's needs and put our needs aside, and that's the whole point of sacrifice. So it's like a message that's ideally good for our society in this modern day of age.
Not only that, but Hussein ibn Ali has inspired us, and in general the whole community and people out there, especially the youths, to stand up against injustice and oppression. As this current world, a lot has been going on in terms of injustice and oppression. But what happened 1,400 years ago, Hussein ibn Ali stood up against a corrupt leader, and refused to bow down against him. And despite having only 72 people from his side, yet he stood up and went against an army of 30,000 people. So that's very motivating, and it gives us the energy to stand up against the oppression and injustice.
What we also do understand is that Hussein ibn Ali had his family behind him, and that's probably his strongest backbone.
Yeah.
So what the campaign does teach us, that when we have our families behind us, supporting us, then I think that's all we need, because that's probably our biggest motivation that keeps us thriving for what we want to get in our lives.
And also adding to that, Hussein ibn Ali came out with his family and a few companions to give out everything they had. It teaches everyone out there that that he gave out everything he had, not just for a particular thing, but for the whole of humanity.
So basically, he's taught us that you have to live a life of purpose, and you have to believe in something that's greater than just yourself.
Ideally, that's what it means.
Thank you so much for coming out here and giving us your time, and I think this campaign is amazing. Like you said, it's not only about Islam, it's just about teaching people about humanity and doing good acts, not expecting anything in return, which is what the Ahlul Bayt have taught us.
Right.
So,
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
thank you. Here is the face of a Nobel Peace Prize winner, Myanmar's de facto leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, who has failed to stand up to the blatant ethnic cleansing taking place in our country. But just a second, the first step to anything is acceptance, right? But here is what she thinks is going on.
No, it's not ethnic cleansing. It's a new problem, and yet it's linked to old problems as well. And this is what the world needs to understand, that the fear is not just on the side of the Muslims, but on the side of the Buddhists as well.
You would accept, wouldn't you, that the vast majority of the victims of the violence have been Muslims? There is evidence that they have been systematically targeted.
Muslims have been targeted, but also Buddhists have been subjected to violence. But there's fear on both sides, and this is what is leading to all these troubles.
So amongst the most popular Peace Prize laureates, rated higher than Nelson Mandela, the man who ended modern-day slavery in South Africa, Aung San Suu Kyi is known for her non-violent struggle for democracy and human rights. Yes, I did just say human rights. However, she believes it's a two-way struggle between the Buddhists and the Rohingya Muslims, when in fact, this is actually what's going on. So who is the poster boy behind all these atrocities? No other than Wirathu, a Buddhist spiritual leader and branded the face of Buddhist terror by Time magazine. Here are his beliefs on the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar, blatantly propagating this ethnic cleansing. But it seems Suu Kyi wants to take the approach of the three wise monkeys, but definitely not for the good of humanity. For those who don't know, here is a quick geography lesson. Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, is a Southeast Asian country in between Thailand, China, India, and Bangladesh. Rohingya are a minority Muslim population in Myanmar, a country that is predominantly Buddhist. Yet, they're not recognized as citizens, even if they were born and bred there, having no basic rights or access to hospitals and schools.
Safely to hospital.
What's happening here isn't being dictated by the central Burmese government, but by the local Rakhine Buddhist community. It's them who are stopping.
Islam represents only 5% of Myanmar's population of 54 million. More than 400,000 Rohingya from Myanmar have crossed the border into Bangladesh after a brutal military crackdown.
Rights Watch is warning that the level of devastation in the north of Rakhine state, where most Rohingya live, may be worse than originally feared.
The UN rights chief calls the campaign in Rakhine a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. NPR noted that reports of unbridled murder and arson, rape and persecution have followed Rohingya out of Myanmar's western states of Rakhine, sketching a stark portrait of government violence. Some people say that Myanmar is controlled by the military, but Suu Kyi's indifference has hurt aid organizations' ability to get people on the ground and to potentially raise money to help the Rohingya. Suu Kyi's inaction has surely worsened affairs. She has shown that the military can act freely and without consequence, and her public statements have done nothing to challenge people within her party who don't see the issue as important. So while images of dead children, burnt villages, and raped women circulate the media, the question is, how many people have to die before this is stopped? As Martin Luther King once said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. The Rohingya are the world's most